The hall was bright with gold lights, and soft music filled the air. I stood near the front row, watching guests settle into their seats. Everyone looked happy, talking, laughing, waiting for the wedding to begin. For a moment, I felt proud. My son Adrian was finally getting married. He stood at the altar looking calm and hopeful, smiling at every guest who nodded at him. Clara, the bride, was still in the dressing room. The wedding planner had gone to bring her out. People kept turning their heads, waiting to see her walk down the aisle. Adrian's friends whispered jokes. My relatives took pictures. Everything felt perfect. Then my phone buzzed. At first, I ignored it, thinking it was one of my cousins calling to ask where to sit. But it buzzed again. I pulled it from my pocket and frowned when I saw the screen. Unknown number. I stepped slightly to the side and answered quietly, "Hello?" The voice that came through was sharp and shaky. "Is this Mr. Samuel?" "Yes. Who is this?" There was a short pause. Then the man spoke fast, almost like he was afraid someone would hear him. "Listen carefully. You must stop this wedding. Immediately." I froze. I looked around the hall. Nobody noticed me. The guests were laughing, children were running around, and the choir was practicing softly near the stage. Everything looked normal. Nothing gave a reason for such a strange call. "What are you talking about?" I whispered. "Why should I stop the wedding?" The man breathed heavily, like he had been running. "You need to know something about the bride. Something serious." My heart began to beat faster. "What about her?" I asked. "She is not who she says she is," he said. "If your son marries her, he will regret it for the rest of his life." I stared at Adrian, who was adjusting his tie and smiling at his best man. He looked so happy. I felt a cold wind run through my chest. "You can't just call me and say this," I said. "Who are you? What are you talking about?" "I will explain everything," the man replied, sounding desperate. "But you must not let that ceremony continue. Not until you know the truth." A soft commotion started at the back of the hall. The wedding planner was guiding Clara toward the entrance. Guests started turning. Phones lifted. People gasped quietly at how beautiful she looked in her gown. She smiled brightly as she held her flowers, waving gently at a few friends. The caller's voice tightened. "Please, Mr. Samuel, I'm begging you. Don't let your son make this mistake." I felt my hand weaken as if my phone would drop. I looked at Clara again. She seemed calm, peaceful, perfect. But the man's voice had planted something in my heart, a sharp, uneasy feeling that refused to leave. I ended the call slowly, not knowing what to believe. And as Clara took her first step into the hall, I found myself staring at her with new eyes, wondering what truth I had just been pushed into. Long before the wedding day, I had noticed things about Clara that didn't sit well with me. But I pushed them aside because Adrian loved her. I told myself every family has secrets and every person has a past. I didn't want to spoil their happiness by thinking too much. I remember the first time I met her. She walked into my house with a sweet smile, greeting everyone politely. Adrian held her hand like she was the best thing that ever happened to him. She spoke softly, asked about my health, and even brought a small gift for me. Everything about her looked perfect, but there was something else. Something she tried too hard to hide. One evening, a few months before the wedding, I visited Adrian unexpectedly. Clara was there. She looked startled when she saw me. She quickly kept her phone under a pillow, almost like she didn't want anyone to see who she had been talking to. When I asked if everything was fine, she forced a smile and said she was only checking messages from her cousin. I didn't question it. Another time, we were at a family dinner. Everyone was laughing, but Clara seemed distant. When one of my sisters asked about her parents, Clara's smile faded. She shifted in her seat, looked down at her hands, and said she didn't like talking about her family. Adrian touched her shoulder and changed the topic immediately. I didn't understand why a simple question bothered her so much. There was also the matter of her late-night phone calls. Adrian told me not to worry, that she was dealing with some old personal issues. But the way she stepped outside to answer calls, walking far away from everyone, sent a small warning through my mind. Still, I stayed quiet. One afternoon, a week before the wedding, I arrived early at a restaurant where we planned to meet. As I walked toward the entrance, I saw Clara cross the street. She wasn't alone. She was talking to someone, a man I'd never seen before. Her posture was stiff. She looked scared, almost cornered. The man spoke quickly, waving his hands. Clara kept glancing around as if she didn't want to be seen. Before I could move closer, the man walked away fast. Clara stood alone for a moment, breathing deep, then hurried toward the restaurant. When she saw me, she acted normal, pretending everything was fine. I didn't tell Adrian what I saw. I told myself it was probably nothing. Every small moment had seemed harmless on its own, too soft to start a fight over. But now, standing in the wedding hall with the caller's warning in my ear, all those strange signs felt heavy. It was as if the truth had been in front of me the whole time, and I chose not to notice. And as I watched Clara walk gracefully with her bouquet on the wedding day, those memories echoed in my chest, reminding me that something had always been hiding behind her perfect smile. After ending the call in the hall, I stepped outside for a moment to clear my head. The noise of the wedding faded behind me, but the words of the unknown caller stayed loud in my mind. I needed answers. I needed to understand what danger Adrian was walking into. I took a deep breath and dialed the number again. The man picked up immediately, as if he had been waiting. "Mr. Samuel, thank you for calling back." His voice was tired, shaky, and filled with something I couldn't describe. Pain, maybe regret. "Tell me who you are," I said firmly, "and tell me what you're talking about." There was silence for a few seconds. Then he finally spoke. "My name is Lionel. You don't know me, but I know Clara. I knew her long before your son met her." I felt a cold sting in my stomach. "How do you know her?" "She and I were close," he said. "Very close. And I'm not calling you to cause trouble. I'm calling because I made a mistake once. I didn't warn someone in time, and it destroyed them. I won't let that happen to your son." I leaned against the wall, listening carefully. Lionel continued. "Clara's been hiding a part of her life. Something serious. She didn't tell your son because she knew he wouldn't go through with the wedding if he found out." "What is she hiding?" I asked. He took a breath, steadying his voice. "She has a history with people that ended badly. I'm not talking about simple fights or breakups. I'm talking about situations that left people hurt, emotionally, financially, and even socially. She leaves things behind, then runs." His words made me uneasy. "You're saying she's dangerous?" "I'm saying she knows how to make someone trust her," he replied. "She knows how to look innocent, how to smile, how to make you believe she cares. But when she gets what she wants, she moves on, leaving a mess behind her." I didn't respond. I was thinking about all the strange things I'd seen over the months. They suddenly felt sharper, clearer. Lionel kept talking. "I've seen it myself, and I've watched others go through it. That's why I said you must stop the wedding. If Adrian marries her today, he will be tied to things she never told him about. Things that could follow him for years." I swallowed hard. "How do I know you're telling the truth?" "You don't," he answered quietly. "But ask yourself something. Has Clara ever talked about her past, her family, her work? Has she ever given clear answers?" Those questions felt like heavy stones, because the truth was yes. I had noticed all of that. "Mr. Samuel," he added, "I'm not your enemy. I'm not jealous. I'm not trying to break their happiness. I'm trying to prevent your son from walking into something he can't walk out of. His voice dropped, sounding almost guilty. If someone had warned me earlier, maybe my own life would look different today. I could hear him breathing slowly, like the memories were painful. Please, he said, don't ignore this. I stood there silent, feeling a mix of fear and frustration. I didn't know whether to believe him completely, but I couldn't ignore everything he had said either. Before hanging up, Lionel added one last thing. If you look closely, you'll find the truth yourself. You won't even need me. I ended the call and looked through the glass doors toward the wedding hall. Clara was smiling at guests. Adrian was waiting for her with pure joy in his eyes. And for the first time, I wondered how much of that smile on Clara's face was real, and how much was hiding something she never wanted us to see. I walked back into the wedding hall slowly, trying not to look troubled. Guests were smiling, the choir was singing softly, and the wedding planner was motioning for the ceremony to begin. Everything looked normal on the outside, but my mind was racing with Lionel's words. I took a seat near the side, where I could see both Clara and Adrian clearly. Clara stood at the entrance, waiting for her cue to walk down the aisle. She held her bouquet gently and gave small smiles to anyone who looked her way. But now, after everything I had heard, her smile didn't feel warm anymore. It felt practiced. While the attention was on her, I pulled out my phone quietly. Lionel had said I would find the truth myself if I paid attention. So I started with the simplest thing, her online presence. I opened her social media page. It looked normal at first. Nice pictures, happy quotes, simple posts. But something bothered me. There were almost no photos older than 1 year. Everything before that had been deleted. No family members in her pictures. No childhood friends. The comments under her posts were mostly from people Adrian introduced her to. It felt like she had built a new life from scratch. I scrolled further and found a tagged photo from an old account belonging to someone named Alina. When I clicked it, the page was private, but the caption on the visible post caught my eye. It said, "Some people start over because they want peace. Others start over because they left damage behind." I stared at Clara from my seat. She kept adjusting her dress and fixing her hair, acting like everything was perfect. But I remembered seeing her with that strange man across the street days before. His face had been tense. She had looked scared. Now that moment made more sense. I minimized the app and made a quick call to an old friend who worked in a small business registry. I stepped 2 steps back, pretending to look for a tissue in my pocket. "I need you to check a name for me," I whispered. "Clara. She once mentioned she owned a small shop years ago." My friend asked for more details, then told me to wait a few minutes. As I waited, my eyes stayed on Clara. She was laughing softly with the wedding planner, but her eyes kept moving around the hall, almost like she was watching for someone. That nervous look made my stomach tighten. My phone buzzed again. "Samuel," my friend said, "the name you gave me is linked to a business that shut down suddenly 2 years ago. There were complaints. Some people lost money. It wasn't a small issue." I felt a weight drop in my chest. "Anything else?" I asked. There was a pause. "Yes. The person listed under that business filed no forwarding address. They disappeared from the system after that." I ended the call slowly. My eyes went back to Clara. Her calm face, her slow breathing, her polished smile. It all looked different now. I wasn't looking at a bride anymore. I was looking at someone who had been running from something. And as I watched her standing there in that beautiful dress, with everyone admiring her, I finally understood what Lionel meant when he said I wouldn't need his words to know the truth. Everything I needed was now right in front of me. The wedding hall was filled with soft music and the murmur of hundreds of guests. Flowers decorated every corner. Adrian stood at the altar, looking proud and calm. Clara was still smiling, holding her bouquet tightly, waiting for her moment to walk down the aisle. Everyone around me looked happy, completely unaware of the storm inside my mind. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of what I had discovered. Every memory, every clue, every warning from Lionel, all of it pressed down on me. I couldn't let Adrian make a mistake that might change his life forever. And yet, I didn't want to destroy this day for him. Not completely. I stood slowly and walked toward him, trying to appear calm. My heart was heavy, but my mind was sharp. Every step felt louder than the last, though the guests never noticed. I could see Adrian smile when he noticed me, innocent and trusting. I remembered the day he was born, the way he held my hand as a child, the way he believed in people wholeheartedly. I couldn't let him be hurt, not now. When I reached him, I gently placed a hand on his shoulder. His smile faltered slightly as he looked into my eyes. "Dad, what is it?" he whispered. I looked at him, my voice calm but firm. "Son, I need you to listen carefully. There's something you don't know about Clara, something very serious. I know this is your special day and I don't want to ruin it, but you need to hear the truth before it's too late." Adrian's eyes widened, a mix of fear and confusion crossing his face. "What do you mean?" he asked. I took a moment, collecting myself. "Clara, she has been hiding things from us, things that could affect your whole life. I've learned about her past, and I cannot let you marry without knowing everything. You deserve to know the truth, Adrian." For the first time, Adrian's confident smile disappeared. Clara, noticing the tension, looked toward us. Her smile faded slightly, her eyes darting between the two of us. The flowers in her hands trembled just a little, though she tried to remain composed. "Dad, what are you saying?" Adrian asked, his voice quiet, almost trembling. "I'm saying you need to decide after knowing everything," I said softly, holding his hand. "I love you, and I can't let you make a mistake that will hurt you forever." Adrian nodded slowly, finally understanding. The hall seemed to pause around us. Guests were still smiling, but their faces blurred in my vision. My son, my only son, was looking at me with trust and confusion, and I knew I had made the right choice by stepping forward, even if it meant changing the course of the day. In that moment, I realized that protecting my son was more important than pleasing anyone. I felt a heavy weight lift from my chest. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew the truth was out, and Adrian had the power to decide his future. I looked at Clara one last time. Her smile was gone, replaced by something I could not read. My heart ached for the chaos about to unfold, but I stood firm, knowing I had done the only thing a father could do. The music played on. Guests clapped for what they thought was a normal wedding moment, and I held my son's hand tightly, ready to face whatever came next. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment for more gripping stories.